Hey, what's going on, everyone? Sal here with a quick video. I want to talk about Kyle Bass and China deal and how it appears he has been crowned the golden child to go around business media and talk all of this shit about China. Obviously China, like any country, has its problems, nowhere near the magnitude of the problems we have, but yet he has made it his business to go out and really destroy any reputation that China had among the American people. And it's really sad to see, because when we look at the discussions involving, China and China deal, it's just sad that that's the best word I can come up with it. But these discussions, it's really void of the opinions of actual Asian and Chinese people. I can't, it's so hard to find insight and real conviction of thought from Chinese people in regards to this China deal situation that we're going through. And every time I see, an American really bashing another country, my antenna goes up, because this is the same thing that growing up I saw involving and, got us into the Iraq war and then Libya. It's the same playbook that, the White House, the CIA, Kyle Bass, and all these people participate in, where you just go out and you just talk a lot of shit about your quote unquote enemy, because he's called China an enemy of America, which is just absolutely ludicrous. You know what I mean? He mentions, first of all, let me just cut to the chase here. There's nothing being discussed in these Chinese discussions that affects your life and my life on a day-to-day basis, period. They are not discussing how to lower the cost of pharmaceuticals here in America. They are not discussing how to improve alternative energy. They're not discussing how to make living, more affordable for our poor and middle-class Americans. They're not talking about how to bring those incredible abilities at math that Asian people have, particularly Chinese people, when it comes to mathematics. They're not discussing that, bringing those to the American children here. They're not discussing those things. They are discussing ways to allow the international banking elite that has been basically blocked from being able to own anything in China to be able to finally have some kind of ownership there. That's what's being discussed over there. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about me. It has nothing to do with the American people at all. All this shit that he talks about, the China Bank and Bank of China, let me tell you something about these, government-owned institutions in China. They're incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. Billions, trillions of dollars. And what they want, what Kyle Bass and the people that he works for in the White House and who have an interest in making sure that the Chinese open up their doors to them, is they want a piece of that ownership. They want to be able to own assets in China without the Chinese people having any say in that. You got to understand, it's something like this. Why? Come on, China. Why don't you let me own your farms outright? Why don't you let me own a power station outright? Why don't you let me, poison your children with ghetto gangster rap music and porn and all? That's what they want. That's nothing about helping you, nothing about, they're incredibly dishonest, and Kyle Bass is incredibly dishonest when it comes to that, in my opinion, And I suspect you, bro. I suspect you, because when you fuck around with people like Steve Bannon, who everybody knows is a white supremacist, I'm looking at you sideways. Now I suspect you of being one, because who fucks with a guy like that? He's a horrible person. Some of the things I've seen him write and say, just a horrible, horrible person, So I want you guys to really pay attention to this discussion of China and how it's really being framed. Because it's not about benefiting us here, about benefiting us, the American people, at all. They don't care. They could care less about us. I was at the bank the other day. I can't even cash a fucking $6,000 check without having to come back the next day. And you're talking about Chinese banking system. I'm learning about the fractional banking system that we have here in America, which basically makes every bank in America insolvent. I can't even cash a $6,000 check. The bank told me to come back the next day. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the money. And that's 2 locations. You have to actually go there, request how much you want, and then come back the next day and then they'll have the money. Because these banks don't have the money. So do your research on China deal. Let's hopefully get some actual Chinese people, Asian people involved in this discussion. What they're doing is really setting us up for failure. They are afraid of what China has to offer the world. They're afraid of the growing strength of China. They're afraid of what China is doing, particularly in Africa. It's terrifying to the White House. I went to the Democratic Republic of Congo this summer, and I saw the Chinese people building roads through areas that people said were impassable. They said, we never could go through there before the Chinese people came here. The Chinese are building airports. They're building hospitals. They're building, 4 or 5 lane highways. The Americans and the Europeans never did that. They never invested the way the Chinese people are investing in Africa right now. And they have the right to generate the returns that produces. China deal is about control of the Chinese people, regulating their growth, and doing whatever it is possible to maintain the status of American imperialism across the world. That's what it's about. You are afraid of China. You are afraid of China. And you have been ordained, Carol Bass, to go out and convince the American people that they are the bad guys. When the Chinese people could give a fuck about what's going on in America. They really do. They really don't care about what's going on here. They're taking care of their people, doing a better job than here. They're doing a better job than here. And I don't even want to go into some of the problems we have here in America that are horrible problems. There was a study done not too long ago that showed it's actually harder now to go from poor to wealthy in America than it is in certain European countries. Asian people, they get free college, free health care. These Chinese people, they get free. They got a lot of things that we don't get here in America that the government provides to them. Look, I'm not here to big up the CCP. They're a communist country. It is what it is. These people, if the Chinese people don't like it, look, they're several billion strong. They can go ahead and overrun their country if they want to. But obviously, they're very happy with what they got going on over there. All right? I go to Chinatown, New York City, San Francisco. I see Chinese flags flying high in pride. So they love their country. They love their country. These people are not evil. They're not enemies of the American people. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Talking about how they imprison Muslims and what. You know how many black folks are out here in prison in America? Come on, man. So we got to be honest about what's going on here. It's your boy Sal. I might make a second edition of this because I'm sure I've forgotten to discuss something. But look, when it comes to China deal, don't swallow what they're serving, man. Don't swallow what they're serving. The Chinese people continue to fight strong. These people want to own your country, and they want to control you. They want to tell you what to do, tell your people how to think. They want to import all of the poison, from the disgusting themes that are in movies today here and bring them to your people, and get your kids to doubt their beliefs about everything that your country stands for. You got to understand the profit motive here, because that's what's really it's about. It's a profit motive. They don't give a fuck about you. Don't give a fuck about me. Just got to be honest about it, man. It's your boy Sal, man. I'm out.